You are listening to the My Rowdy Friends podcast. Rowdy Yates with Tony Aranda, who is the Republican candidate for Precinct 2 County Commissioner. Thank you so much for coming by today, Tony. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for having me today.
I got to tell you, I was greatly moved. A couple of weeks ago, you were in the Commissioner's Court building. It was not a Commissioner's Court meeting, but our Precinct 2 and Precinct 4 County Commissioners, Dexter McCoy and Grady Prestidge, who have not been at a Commissioner's Court meeting since I think the late part of June, did have, I guess, a little public information meeting where they did allow people to jump up and voice their concerns. You were one of them. You had a number of things to say. I was inspired by the things you had to say to those two gentlemen.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't intending on saying anything. I just wanted to go and listen in to see what the two commissioners had to say. And it just fell in my heart that I needed to say something. I'm also a resident of Precinct 2, and somebody needed to say something to them. And I've heard good things on both the left and the right about Commissioner Prestidge. He was held with high esteem. And when I saw that as a response to what he doesn't agree with, that doesn't align with my beliefs or values. In the Marine Corps, you showed up. You represented your guys. You just made it happen. And you showed up. You said, hey, this is my piece for my people. If it doesn't agree with you guys, I understand. At the end of the day, you show up and you tell your guys, hey, I showed up. It didn't work out in our favor, but I showed up for you. And so that builds trust.
Let's talk about your military background, because it wasn't just a year or two. You were a long timer.
Yes, sir. I served 22 years, went in 96, right out of high school. I was in artillery. And then after that, about 2 years of artillery, I was part of the Marine Security Guard program that works closely with the State Department. They deal with diplomatic security for the embassies abroad. And so I was stationed in Havana, Cuba, and Bogota, Colombia. And my last 15 years, I served in aviation as a Huey helicopter crew chief. That was not just a good time, but also a time to grow up and learn and understand the intricacies of leadership, the intricacies of taking care of people. And that's when I learned that it's not about me, it's about other people. It was not about, I thought I was fighting for the freedom of this country, which was, yes, I was. But I also realized I'm fighting for the person to the left and right of me, and that's what matters the most.
Were you in the Middle East?
I was in the Middle East for about 2 to 3 years. I did a deployment in the Middle East in 2008. We were going through the Strait of Hormuz, and so we're over there providing security for our ships and whatnot. 53s went into Iraq, the Harriers went into Yemen, and we just stayed close to the ships. Did some training over in Oman, Jordan, and up in Kuwait as well.
Did you ever see combat?
Now, in 2011, I did deploy to Afghanistan, where we served over there in Camp Leatherneck, and I was there for April of 2011 all the way to about just shy of November. I think we pulled out finally. And so, yeah, definitely there we saw some action.
What do you think is the single most important issue facing Fort Bend County? And I'll tell you that I'm going to follow this up by asking a question specifically about Precinct 2, but in Fort Bend County,
I think one of the biggest issues that people are running into is understanding the appointment of Judge Wong. Now, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to talk about that. I leave that to the judges. I leave that to the people, the powers that be. On a smaller level or a lower level, if you will, we're talking to constituents, door knocking, seeing people out in town, listening to them. I think the biggest issue that they're running into is the amount that they have to pay. And I think that's across the board when it comes to property taxes, to fuel, groceries. And then it boils down to, where's my money going? Where it's not going into my roads. So what's it going into? It's not going into my community. It's going to some other community. And we can see that in some areas where we look at 5th Street in Missouri City, and people look at that and they say, well, how come there's no funding over here? What's going on with here? And then people look at Siena and make that comparison. Like, there's a huge contrast between 5th Street and Siena. We look at Arcola and now, and then also Fresno. And I know Prestidge started the 10-point plan with that. I think it's a great plan. The only thing I don't like about it, there's no metrics. To me, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm used to having metrics.
Let's talk about Precinct 2. That's the job you're running for. What do you believe is the biggest issue facing Precinct 2? I'll tell you, I think I know what it is, and I don't even live there. But go ahead.
Well, right now, I think the big elephant in the room is the leadership. There's no representation. As we talked about earlier, Commissioner Prestidge is not showing up. And how can people have a voice or support that when that's what a person was voted in for? Now, I'm not attacking him, what his thoughts are. I'm not going to go into that. That's not for me to say. But I know for myself, I have no problem showing up. In fact, in the military, I was always showing up regardless if I had an ear infection, a sinus infection, a broken foot, was having a bad day. You just show up. It doesn't matter. It's not about you. So I think that's the big elephant in the room. But I think the other one too is the fact that we don't have a lot of people that want to get out and vote.
Yeah.
And so we're coming into the primaries, the midterms, and a lot of people are just like, well, I don't know if I should just go, or my vote doesn't have an effect. And it's that lack of education that people have, or that they're being taught that their vote is not really of value. It is of value. That one vote makes the difference. In fact, there's a precinct chair that got voted in and he won by one vote. It makes a difference to that precinct. So for us, I think that's kind of the big deal as well, is getting people out. If we want to talk other issues, roads. People are having a huge issue with traffic congestion over in the Siena area, flooding. That's another major issue. And then I think we're just developing. We're developing at such a pace that we're now affecting our residents, and they're starting to feel that. Growth is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against growth, but there's a responsible way to do it. My philosophy is growth is coming. Well, let's build it with the community. Let's build it with the people's input and actually stand behind them. We heard in McKinney, and I'm not trying to bring up other politics, but in McKinney, they voted that a mosque wouldn't be built. And that was the majority of the community that came to spoke to city council. City council knocked it down 7-0. And they said, no, we're going to override the people. So now they're having to do a recall to pull all those, they're trying to pull off the city council members that voted in favor of the mosque. So that's kind of one of the things that we're here. I think people aren't getting their voice heard. We're getting one representation versus the people's representation.
You talk about growth, I'm all for it. I love the smell of concrete in the morning. I will be the first one to say that. And I hate to throw this hot tater in your lap.
Okay.
There's a lot of talk about Tesla building a brand new facility in Precinct 2. Now, first off, I'll tell you that I did a lot of research about this. I did a lot of digging on this because, first off, you immediately say Tesla and you have people that make a partisan decision. Right. Oh, my goodness, that's Elon Musk. He sides with Donald Trump. I'm not for it. Mm-hmm. And they don't look at what it could possibly bring, which they are promising 10,000 jobs. And that's beyond the construction of the facility. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I read was a concern. Oh my gosh, it's another data center. And those are known to consume a considerable amount of water. Well, that's really not a concern either, because it's not a data center that they're proposing. It's a solar panel manufacturing facility.
Correct.
Other than that, what do you know about this? Can you speak to the nature of the facility? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
I can see the concerns of the people. Here comes in the data center. All right, let's squash that. You're correct. It is not a data center. There's not one coming in. So let's just end that conversation right there. The worries I can see is the people, is that we have this huge company coming in, and I don't see why people look at these partisan politics. Like, who cares if it's Elon Musk? Who cares if it's Tesla? Well, we should be looking at it. Is it good for our community economically? And absolutely it is. 10,000 jobs for construction, plus another 10,000 for permanent jobs and positions. And
high-end positions.
And high-end positions, exactly. And why doesn't Fort Bend County deserve that? In fact, I think we do deserve that. Our people deserve that. And there are people out here that want jobs. There are people that want to be in Fort Bend County and to work for Tesla. I can't see why people would be against that. Now, if you want to talk about land, well, it's taken up our land. Well, we're already giving up our land to other businesses. So why not give up our land to a business that's definitely doing well, that's going to be good for our community? And if it's not hurting our economy, what's the bad about it then? And that's what I can't answer to people. I can't see what's wrong with it.
When Donald Trump was running for president this time around, one of his famous shoot from the lip phrases was, on day one, I will do this. On day one, I'll do that. So let me ask you that question. What major change in process or policy do you think is the most important? Something you'd like to implement, something that you would like to change on day one?
Great question. I want to meet with all the directors. I want to meet with all the department heads. I want to let them know that they have my support, but I also want to let them know that leadership needs to change. And this is what I'm getting at, Rowdy, is that if we have good leadership at the top, it's going to trickle down. Everybody else is going to have a good day. So if we got directors who are not showing up and doing their job, they're going to get weeded out. And that's exactly what I want to do, is if they don't want to be here, then I'm going to get them out there, because I want people that actually want to serve. I don't want people that just want to go in there and look at it as, I work for the county. I got a job. No, it's not a job. It's a responsibility. It's a responsibility to the people of this county. And I want to make sure, again, that these people know I'm not coming after them. I'm not headhunting people. I'm looking at the performance. Let's do an evaluation. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, great. But if they're not, if they're wasting taxpayer dollars by sitting around, not showing up, clocking in and clocking out, or abusing that system, it's time to move on. Let's put somebody more responsible into that position.
Let's talk about small businesses. Obviously, they drive so much, not only in Fort Bend County, but the entire nation. Tell us how you think you could support these small businesses and also entrepreneurs that want to get something going in your precinct.
Well, while I'm not a small business owner myself, I've never been an entrepreneur or anything like that, I think they're essential to our communities and to our local government. If we're constantly relying on places outside of our county or businesses outside of our county, well, what are we doing for ourselves? There are people that want to have their own business. They're great at it. So let's keep them here. I mean, there's a pizza parlor where I grew up. They are thriving because everybody in the area is using them. Now, if we're going to other big chains and all that, like Domino's and Pizza Hut, they're just gonna fall apart, and they're not contributing to our local economy because Pizza Hut can leave, Domino's can leave, and so other small businesses within our community, I want them to stay. I want them to find a reason to stay in Missouri City or Fort Bend County in general. I think we owe it to the people, and I want people to say, look, I can build a business where I grew up and keep it there, and I know people are going to use it. And if it's goods and services that people need, then people are going to use it.
Let's talk about the traffic in Sienna. Ick, what a mess. First off, I will tell you, I was elated when I found out, several years ago that they were going to build that bridge on the backside of Booth that would cross over the Brazos River, that would cut our drive time where I live and my wife lives in Richmond, which was about a 30-minute trip to Sienna, down to about 10 minutes
right.
by taking that back bridge. But because we have friends that live in Sienna and we have family members that live there too, we know what a headache that can be day in, day out. There's really not a light time because that corridor is traveled so heavily. So how do you prioritize and ensure the roads and the highway projects? How do you make sure that those things are completed on schedule? Because unless they are, we're still going to be facing these big traffic headaches.
Right. I think one of the things that I look at as a responsibility of the commissioner, it's not to micromanage, but it's to follow up. Are we following up with these contractors? Are we following up with the companies that are actually doing the work? When I get in, I want to ask those questions. All right, where are we at? How long is it going to take to get here? And how much are we going to spend that money that's allotted for that month? Is it going to be spent, or do you think we're going to be asking for more? Because these are things that people need to know, and residents ought to know about as well. And so where I'm going with this is that if things are being done on time, like they're supposed to be, then I'm okay with it. But if the setbacks are because people are sitting on their hands, they're not getting up, they're not doing the work, they're finding a way to just kind of milk the cow, if you will, I have a huge issue with that. And when you follow up, people are going to say, hey, you know what? They're looking at us, they're watching us. And it's not their micromanagement. I don't want to sit there and tell them how to do their job. They know how to do it better than I do. I just want to make sure that it's being done when they say it's going to be done within the time limit and the amount of money they say it's going to get done. I get weather. I get that's going to happen. I get that's going to come up. Flooding in some areas. That's going to set us back some time. Material costs could be, if we talk like national politics, that could affect us. I got it. But within our own control, as a commissioner, my control, I believe I can do that. I believe we can follow up with these people and make sure they're staying within timelines that they've given to us.
With this standoff, if you will, between the Republicans and the Democrats, with Grady Prestige and Dexter McCoy hanging back, it could cause a lot of problems not only in the immediate future, but on down the road. I want to talk about the budget primarily, and what I would consider to be an unbelievably great concern from county employees who, by the way, I don't think the majority of really want to get involved with a lot of this stuff, but unfortunately they're being drug into it because of this stalemate with the county commissioners. I'm concerned, they're concerned about their pay raises. Do you see a resolution to this at all?
Well, I think the resolution could have been made way back when. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a district judge. I'm not making the calls. But the way I see it is the commissioners pretty much could have sat down and said, look, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to represent the people, but I'm going to vote no. I'm going to abstain from voting. And I'm also going to put in the minutes that, hey, I consider this meeting to be an illegal meeting, but I can still sit here and represent the people.
So there still could be work done.
Yeah, exactly.
From there at the dais.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And if there's stuff from precincts 4 and 2 on the agenda, that tells me that they still know that the system works. They know that it can still get pushed through. So if you're going to boycott, take all your stuff off the agenda. Then if you believe that it's illegal, that's what I say. But again, I think the resolution is just, the district judge has already said his piece. All they need to do is show up to commissioner's court and handle business. Again, they can still say no. They can vote no. They can abstain from voting, and they can say, hey, I believe I'm in an illegal meeting. Make sure it's in the minutes. And that's a way to cover their 6.
What would you tell these employees?
That's a good question.
I know it's a hard one to answer, because when I wrote it down, I was like, how would I answer this question?
Yeah. I would tell the people, trust in the system. If the system fails you, it wasn't actually the system. It was the people that failed you, the people that were in power. That's what failed you.
Running a campaign like this is not cheap. If you don't raise funds, I don't think you've got much of a chance. But I wanted you to take a second here to explain the importance of receiving donations from the community instead of being dependent on larger political donors. I asked this question because just, again, my own curiosity got me to really looking at campaign finance reports, who's making those donations. I mean, all of that is a matter of public record. I know when I did that in my own precinct, the light went off, the jaw dropped, and I was like, okay, all of this makes sense now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I learned one thing from a developer, and he says, people aren't going to give you money unless you're the incumbent. Then they're going to pay because what happens is their priority gets put on a table, and over time people stack on top of that. So it ends up your paperwork gets at the bottom of the pile. Mm-hmm. And so contractors are going to give those commissioners money so that the commissioners say, oh yeah, I'll pull it off the bottom for you. We'll prioritize that. And, honestly, for my own campaign, I don't like using people's money. I really don't. I hate asking for it. I understand campaigns need money to be funded. I understand that wholeheartedly. There's people that got treasure chests that they can just go to war with, if you will. The way I see it, Rowdy, is that it does help. Don't get me wrong. It definitely helps. But I love the endorsement when somebody tells me, you know what, Tony, I'm voting for you because you showed up. Tony, I'm voting for you because you're the first candidate that's come out this way. Those are my biggest endorsements. And then that vote means more to me than their dollar. Again, the dollar can make magic happen, right? In the sense of buying signs, push cards, supporting the campaign. Like there's things that's got to get paid for. I hate the subject about asking for people's money. It's necessary for campaigns to function. It's just the way it works. I can't put it any other way. The other thing is it's on me. It's on me to get out there and let everybody know, hey, I'm running. And so if I can get across to many people without having to put out signs, without having to put out ads, without having to get on YouTube or Facebook or whatever the case is, and you win the election that way, great. Now let's do that all the way for the rest of the time. And then people can say, you know what, that makes more sense. Let people's money go back into their pockets and they use it for their homes. That's what I say.
So if someone's got questions they are a precinct 2 resident. They're on the fence. They don't know. They're dissatisfied with what they have seen, what they're paying. How do they find you?
Well, you can find me at TonyArandaCampaign.com. Again, that's TonyArandaCampaign.com. You can also find me on Facebook under Tony Aranda for County Commissioner Precinct 2. I'm also on Instagram. And if you go to my website, you can see why I'm running, what my beliefs are. I don't want to hide from the people. I want to make myself available to the people out there. People have questions, send the emails in. People want to ask me a question, call. My phone number's on the back of my my business card. On top of that, it's on the website.
You seem to be accessible. I'll give you that.
I'm trying to be accessible. I want people to ask those tough questions. I want people to know, like, yes, I'm not a commissioner right now, but I desire to be in that position solely for the responsibility of speaking up for others, of representing others. I don't want to be there for a lifetime. I'm making the commitment to serve no more than 8 years. If the community says they'd like me to serve another 4 years, 12 is the max. After that, you need to find another commissioner. Other minds and other people need to serve in that position, that responsibility. In the Marine Corps, we were taught you grow where you're planted. And so that means you don't sit there forever, because eventually you're going to wither away, or you're going to get so complacent, you're going to find ways to just make it easy for you. You're no longer going to be thinking about the people. And so I don't want to make that position a lifetime.
I would hope as people listen to this today, they're inspired to mobilize, to get behind you in one way or another. And I know that they can find out how to contact you on your website. But what do you think we could do to convince them, if they're still on the fence, to get out and vote?
I think the biggest thing we need to do is educate those people when we go to the doors and telling them. And one of the biggest things I'll share with people here is that, this is what I say when I go to door knocking as well. For 22 years, I served in the Marine Corps, and I never saw a R, a D, or an I next to someone's name. All I saw was a human being. So for me, there's no left and right. There's only what's right and wrong. And I want people to understand that when we continue to vote for the same people over and over and over, and we say we want term limits, but yet we keep voting them in, then you're going to run into your problems. Then you're going to have people that are continue to vote a certain way, and there's going to be certain people within the community that are going to get taken care of, and others that are going to be forgotten. Communities are going to be thriving, and others are going to fail to thrive. And so if we hold ourselves accountable as candidates and commissioners or elected officials, that's great and all. But a lot of times, let's be truthful. A lot of times we just want to serve ourselves. We want to be the ones that are on top. We are the ones that want the power. And I know in the Marine Corps, that was the greatest thing that I learned was it's not about you. And if you have this power for too long, it's time for you to move on, because you're getting complacent. So that's where integrity comes in, doing the right thing when nobody's looking, and making sure that people's money is being stewarded. It's not my money to have. It's not mine to keep. It's mine to steward. It's the people's money. I'm being given the responsibility of handling that. And that's what I want to make sure people understand, is that this is a role it's not easy to do, but I'm willing to step into it. And I think that if people see that and that message gets out there, people are going to be more willing to vote in the primaries. But we just need to educate the people. Look, you're not dumb, but this is how it works. And if you don't vote, your voice is quiet. I get it. You're not being represented right now. I want to represent you in the future. I'm glad you came by today. I really, really am. And I wish you all the best in the election, which is coming up on Tuesday, November the 3rd. I hope people get your message and they understand why you're doing what you're doing, and they realize how important it is. They get out, they bring their families, they tell their neighbors, they get their friends and say, every vote does count. This guy's working for me. Let's get out there and punch the ticket for him. Yeah, absolutely. Rowdy, thank you so much for having me, and hopefully we can get those people out there to vote. Whether they vote for me or not, just get out there and vote for the person that aligns more with your ideals. Remember, don't vote for somebody just because you like them or just because they did this or that. Make sure you study your candidate. Make sure you understand why they're running, and I think we'll have a better future as a county.